Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grow with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Stevens, certified financial planner, and I have a really awesome guest today. We have Josh Phelps with us, maker, business owner, entrepreneur. Josh and I actually go way back to when my dad and I owned a couple retail stores. Huge fan of yours, Josh. Huge fan of your wines and what you've done over these years, and just really excited to reconnect today. So welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it. Nice to see you again, man.
Yeah, same here, man. You look great. I love this format too. It's really fun. So let's just jump right in, man. Take me back to the very beginning and tell me about how you got into this, how you got into wine. Obviously, there's some history there. Were you born in Napa?
I was born in St. Helena, Napa.
Okay. Wow.
So similar to you, I was born into the alcohol business.
I love it, man. I love it. So you just came out of the womb and you were like, I'm going to pick grapes.
Yeah, I was born in Napa. My parents were both from California, but they had left California. My dad went to grad school in France, in Bordeaux, in University of Bordeaux, and came to Napa in the early 80s to be the founding winemaker of Dominus, which is a famous winery in Napa. And that's what brought my parents. I mean, my mom was from Southern California. My dad was from another part of Northern California, but that's what brought them to Napa. So he, after a stint at Petrus in Bordeaux, he ended up here at Dominus and was their first winemaker for the first 15 years and went on to make Caymus for a long time and consult for a lot of people across Napa. So growing up, I was surrounded by wine, and wine was on the table and going to the vineyards and the winery. So a lot of early memories for sure.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So you grew up around wine. Obviously that was every day, right? And then what was that inflection point where you were like, this is what I want to do? What kindled your fire to kind of get you going on it? Like what actually was that? Do you remember the day?
Yeah, it's interesting because like growing up around it, I feel like I knew I wanted to have my own business. I didn't necessarily know it was going to be the wine business, I guess. And I went to college, and I guess it was kind of like while I was in college, I started taking a little more of an interest in wine. I guess I was just 21. I was either 20 or 21. And my sister was studying in Paris, and I'm the oldest of four kids. And so like my parents didn't really take us on like big vacations because they're more expensive. And so that was the first time we had all left the country together. And we went to Paris and Bordeaux. And I think getting to witness, I don't know, my dad has a lot of relationships in Bordeaux. So I got to see the wine business outside of Napa, which was cool and different, and really got to try world-class wines, right? Got to try Petrus from the 80s and stuff like that. And really kind of took a liking to the business as a whole and the idea of what wine does, and it brings people together on the dinner table, et cetera. And so that was when I really started like taking an actual interest in wine. And prior to that, it was just tasting whatever wine was on the kitchen table. And to be honest, like didn't really love wine yet. And then went back to school after that and started working in the space, wine business a little bit, I guess. I didn't even think about it like that, but I started working for a distributor in college, selling wine, and I worked at a wine bar. So all of a sudden I was kind of like thrown into the wine business, and I was starting to taste more wines outside of just Napa Cabernet and starting to learn about the world of wine. When I kind of started going down that path of really starting to enjoy wine. And by the time I was a senior in college, I had started my first wine label.
Really?
Yeah. When we were together, I owned Taken Wine Company. Remember that?
Yes.
I started Taken. That was my senior project.
No way. I did not know that.
Yeah. So we had for business, we had like a senior project. You had to start a business. It was for an entrepreneurship program. And I built a business around starting a wine label. And launched it 6 months after graduation. And that was the start of Taken, and it was small. I think the first vintage I made 100 cases. I mean, it was hardly could call it a company, right? But it kind of evolved and turned into something much larger.
Wow. So I had no idea that was a college project. That's pretty cool, man. Wow. It was a great label too. I loved it. And then Complicated was, I guess, like the second release or second label or.
Yeah, kind of like the second label.
Yeah.
We started with 100 cases and ended up building it to around 50,000 cases between the two brands, over the course of 6 years or almost 7 years. And it was a great learning experience. Partway through that enterprise, I had partnered with Trinchero Family Estates, who's one of the largest wine companies in the country, in the world. Great family-owned company, and had an amazing opportunity to get to work with a national sales team and really kind of like learn how that big picture business works. Because most people in Napa, like make the wine, then like you got to go figure out how to sell it, and you're kind of rely on distributors. And I was lucky to kind of like forge those relationships and understand that system from a pretty young age, and it really teed me up for my next endeavor.
Yeah, it's a great point. So at the end of the day, right, a lot of these wineries, they're just farmers. And there's this whole other side to wine, the actual business of wine, and these 3 tiers. And there used to be 3 tiers. It seems like that's getting muddier.
Yeah, that's
but there was 3 tiers, and it's really fascinating. And maybe it'd be cool if we kind of walk down that road a little bit, because I think some of the listeners may not understand like just the business side of wine, because it is complicated and there's a lot to it. And you can make a phenomenal bottle of wine, but if you don't get it into someone's palate, it doesn't matter, right? Like you got to get it out there. You have to market it. You have to create demand for it. You have to get it scored.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's so much more to it than, I mean, like we're in an era now where we have so much technology that I think most wines are like well made. Whether you like them or not, there's different styles. I don't like all wines, but it's not hard to make a good wine, a decent wine. And so there's plenty of wine out there that is totally fine. And it's not like the best wine always wins. And it's really how you, of course, you have to have a good product, right? And we pride ourselves on making great product. But then it's how do you position yourselves from a marketing standpoint? And then how do you position yourselves in the marketplace amongst all these other brands with your distribution structure, with the accounts you deal with? And that's really like where my passion has always been. I don't have a formal winemaker training. My dad does, obviously. And so he is kind of like he works with me on all the winemaking. So I am the winemaker, but I also have this consultant winemaker that's like an overlay that's helping me make sure that we're hitting our quality standards and making the best wines possible. There's that piece. And then, yes, from the business side, there's a lot of intricacies. It's like we have our distribution network, which is ever changing, right? With the collapse of C recently, which was our biggest partner. And then we have a small team of people on my side that we're constantly working on national accounts and all those things. And so there's all these layers that we kind of have going to help us achieve what we want to achieve.
I love it. After Taken, what happened with Taken actually? Like, walk me through that, because I don't know the story.
Yeah, we built it to a pretty nice number, and really Trinchero had owned the brand with me. It kind of was just a nice point. The brand still exists. They have an amazing sales team. I really wanted to go back to the basics and start something that was 100% mine.
Yeah.
I kind of knew what I wanted to do at that point, and I knew what I wanted to do differently. And so I had the opportunity to sell my equity. It was a good thing for everyone. It gave me the startup capital to start this and really start building Grounded, and simultaneously gave them full ownership of that brand, which had become more mature by then. That was in 2018, and sold my interest and kind of immediately dove into starting what is now Grounded.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And so Grounded is your baby, and you're working with your dad on the winemaking side.
Yeah. So with Grounded, with Taken, we were making what we were calling affordable Napa cab, which almost seems impossible.
Yeah.
But we were making wines that were like $35, $40 a bottle, which in the scheme of things is not cheap. Where you ran retail for a long time, it maybe for people that are into wine, that's cheap. But for the general consumer, it's an expensive bottle of wine. And I wanted to make something that really reached a larger audience. So I'm making wines that are around $15 average a bottle. We have some wines that are higher priced too, but our core competency is $15 a bottle, and it's focused. Like my dad and I are out there sourcing vineyards, blending, making sure that we're making what we consider to be the best possible wines at that price point. We know who our competition is, and we believe our wines are superior from a quality standpoint. And the critics agreed too. We're getting great scores. Cabernet was just top 20 wine, Spectator $100. And so we're taking, my dad's background of making $300 Cabernet, and we're putting that expertise into a $15 bottle, which has definitely been part of the success. And then figuring out how to position that and package it and market it in a way that feels authentic, that tells our story. And then I've spent the last 6 years building a distribution network and account base, and figuring out how we're going to continue to grow each year, which we are, and create a sustainable long-term business.
Where'd the name Grounded come from?
Naming stuff's hard. Yeah. Taken was taken because all the names got taken.
I love that name. I just, hold on. Can I show you something? It's pretty cool. I found this picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll share it with you after, but I thought that was pretty cool. Taken was a great label. And you told me the story way back when, but I think the name had a story for that too. But I love wine. Wine is just chock full of stories. Anyway, go ahead. Grounded. So how did that name come about?
Yeah. So the idea of like being grounded, I think it really kind of like spoke to what we wanted our messaging to be.
Yeah.
And it was important that, like we kind of told that story through messaging. And I think grounded in soil, grounded in life, it speaks to authenticity, the authenticity behind the project. That's where that really came from. And then these other names have kind of spun off, leaning into kind of a retro Americana theme. Because everything we do, you talk about like marketing, our marketing is really like anti-marketing. But what I want our marketing to do is really connect old Napa to where we are today. So kind of like old California vibe, but with a modern edge to it, right? So kind of a nod to growing up in the California wine business, a nod to old California, but with a fresh modern take.
Cool. How has the partnership with Michael Skurnik been? Like, that's been working really well.
Those guys are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about a great family owned company.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about them. They're an amazing family. We've had an epic partnership since day one. I mean, they've been a huge part of our growth, to be totally honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how much you really need to lean on your distributor partners in order to, it all kind of works together, right?
When I say lean on your distributors, Skurnik's a phenomenon in the sense that like it's a true partnership, right? And we have other across 50 states, and we have a handful of those Skurniks, right? There's probably 10 of those family-owned companies that we really have that partnership where it takes much less work because we're just working together all the time and we're helping each other. And yeah, those partnerships are important. And that team, from day one, they just really grasped what we were doing, and the growth has been pretty phenomenal. I attribute that just to a talented team and an amazing portfolio, but most importantly, a family-owned company with really great leadership that is able to drive that. It's admirable and it's important. And there's less and less of that in Napa these days, right? It's like you got these conglomerates buying up wineries.
Private equity.
It is important to family-owned, as a small family-owned business. It's important for us to work with family-owned businesses. And as we've moved away from RNDC due to their collapse, we've actually been finding ourselves finding more of those family-owned distributors that we can really forge a partnership with. And that's been a rewarding part of this headache that happens. So,
Yeah, the family-owned stuff is where it's at, man. You get people that are actually passionate about what they're selling and why they're selling it, which I think is just so hard these days. So there's a lot of headwinds right now, like in the alcohol industry in general. How do you feel about all that? People are taking Ozempic and not drinking. They're shifting to other marijuana, things like that. I mean, how are you finding those headwinds, and what's your plan, I guess?
Yeah, Ozempic's the one that doesn't get talked about as much. I think that's the biggest one, to be honest.
Me too, man. I hear about it every day. I mean, it's crazy.
People are on these GLP-1s, and at some point, like, we're going to find out that maybe everyone shouldn't be on them, and maybe that will change. I think they're good for certain reasons, but I think it's being overused. But
totally,
at the end of the day, there's all these factors. There's GLP-1s. There's a younger generation that's not drinking as much. That is like less of a concern, because I do think that generation will start drinking. A, they don't have money, which is a problem. But B, like when you're 22, you're not drinking wine. Like I kind of was, but like I grew up in the business, right? So I think that being said, the alcohol business is not growing right now. So yes, that's a headwind for sure. The way that we look at that is like, we just need to take market share. And a lot of the brands that we compete with are in that $15 price point, have been around for 10, 20 years. They're tired. They're our parents' brands in a sense. And so we're ready to be the next rendition of that, so we can take market share. And I think we just need to continue to focus on making the best product we can for that price point, because as people are also trading down a little bit, there's some unease in the economy. So people are spending a little less. And I think that we're well positioned for that. Now, if we're talking about the industry as a whole, there's definitely concern. I feel for a lot of small brands here in Napa, family owned brands, that we've got less tourism. Alcohol sales are down, and that's tricky, right? And a lot of those folks don't necessarily have the channels dialed in to like sell the wine otherwise. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely headwinds right now in our industry. I mean, banking, like there's so many pieces of the puzzle that are tricky, but it does seem like there's still positivity, energy. I went to the Robert Mondavi new winery opening last night.
I saw pictures. It looks awesome.
It was amazing. And like what they leaned in, and that's the kind of stuff that is so important for this industry and this place. So I think there's still a lot of positivity out there. And I think Napa Valley is an amazing place, and we'll prevail. It might look a little different on the other side.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just made a good point though. I took my wife out to Napa. Couple, I guess it was more than that now, but for someone that's never been out there, it's such a game changer. I think that's really important, the tourism aspect, right? Like you got to see the land, you got to meet the people, you got to shake their hands, you know, I mean, that stuff really matters. I mean, it gets people excited about the bottle in their hands, right?
Totally.
I think sometimes we overlook like the simple stuff, like just going to visit a winery and seeing how it's made and talking to people, and that stuff over time, it amplifies and it really matters. So yeah, that's cool. Now I'm going to book another trip. I'll come out and visit you. That would actually be really fun. So your dad's the winemaker. How's that? Do you enjoy that process and working together? I mean, you guys have fun, so.
I mean, we're really making everything together. So I mean, he kind of comes in for like the high level decisions and works on blending and adds his expertise, where I run a lot of the day-to-day logistics. But no, we've got a good team and everyone works well together. And I think the wines have just gotten better since we started.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're constantly looking to improve quality and also like making sure we're making wines that are for the customers, not just about what we want to drink. And that's, I think that was a learning curve for my dad that I think Chuck Wagner at Caymus like told him years ago, we're not just make wines for yourself. You need to make them for the customer. And a lot of winemakers don't necessarily have that mentality. And it's like, we get feedback. Like I was talking to somebody at Skurnik, and asked him, asked him how the Cabernet was performing and if there's anything we could do different. And it's like, they had a comment about, we could just style it, the style stuff. Like, hey, this could be a little bit more fruit forward or this. And it's great to get that feedback. And because we're always sitting around the table trying to make sure that we're making wines that we can stand behind, that we enjoy, but are also wines that the consumer is going to love. And without the consumer loving the wines, we got nothing.
Yeah, that's well said. So you have 3 labels?
No, we have 7.
7. Okay. So
or sorry, 6 labels, but we have one of them has line extensions. But we have 7 current wines.
Okay.
About to have 8. Cool. But really, we focus on grounded Cabernet and Sauvignon Blanc, the California appellated wines. Then these other, we have wine from Washington, Oregon, Napa, couple.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our majority of our focus goes to those California appellated wines because they're the largest. People often like look at a wine that says California as the appellation. They're like, oh, it's like, that could be anything. That's just because you're getting the cheapest grapes. And we thought long and hard about that because we could have appellated it. The Cabernet could say Paso Robles on it. But we look at the California appellate as being a strength for us because that's what allows us to make the best wine possible every year because we have tools across the entire state of California we can use. So if one year, like we're not stoked on the Paso Robles fruit, but we have the Napa, Sonoma, Lake County, some Central Valley, it's like you've got all these tools. And so you're not reliant on one region. As we've scaled, honestly, I believe our wines have just been getting better. And it's because we have this system of regions we can really play with and we can put together the absolute best blend we possibly can.
I love that. And what a great point you just made because I go right back to my retailer days and people would be like, yeah, I want a $20 bottle from Napa. And I'd be like, all right, well, what about something from a little bit of a broader, blah, blah, blah. No, it has to say Napa on it,
Yeah.
And so many consumers just have in their mind these words and they don't even really know what they mean.
100%.
Yeah.
I always argue that I'm not going to say any names, but there are wines that are from Napa that are from Paso Robles, labeled on the bottle.
Yeah.
And they're $25, let's say. And that producer is literally doing everything they can to make that wine say Napa or Paso Robles. So you bring in stuff from other regions, you manipulate it. It ends up being not a great wine, but it has the appellation on it where I'm not worried about that. Ours says California. We can play with the whole state, but I know put in the bottle for $15 is going to be like rock star, right?
Love it.
So I'd rather, you could taste the two side by side and it's loud and clear. So really it's just getting the consumer to understand that. It doesn't seem to be an issue for us with our growth rate. So
no, it's awesome.
We're eating it up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool. You got a great thing going. So on that note, take me back a little bit here. Tell me a time when there was a low point in this journey, if you're open to it.
Oh, I mean, there's been plenty of those. I had some headwinds with our last company and there's been a lot of lower points. I mean, because it just goes like this. Banking's been an issue. I'd say that one of the hardest things for us has been this kind of slow and steady collapse of RNDC because we were aligned with them across the country. And it's really a sad thing, to be honest, because they were a great company. There's so many great people in all that company, leadership and reps and a lot of people that became friends. And it's just a bummer what that kind of downfall has done to these families, right?
Yeah.
And to wineries. And really just because of honestly, because of a bad CEO situation.
Yeah.
The wrong person in power.
Yeah.
Kind of collapsed the company and ruined a bunch of jobs and ruined an industry. That's been a tough thing because I think we've had to go through a lot of headwinds the last 2 years that I feel like we're finally coming out of. But, it's hard to sell wine when the distributor situation is not stable.
Yeah. What a mess. I mean, and some of those people, it's like that was their life, and then
100%. No, I know a lot of those people and there's people are still out there trying to figure out what's next and it's shitty. I mean, it's not good.
Yeah, it isn't good. Where do you see Grounded in 5 years?
We're really just starting to hit our stride. We've been in market for about almost 6 years and it takes a while to get a wine brand settled and it feels like we're really hitting our stride. Our national account presence is growing. 2026 will be a record year for sure, which is nice, by a long shot. So it feels like we're hitting our stride and I would hope that we can really start hitting with the growth. We've been kind of waiting for that big jump and a last few years, it's hard. Like it's been an interesting time to grow a wine business. So it's like, we wanted to be growing 40% a year. Well, the last few years, it's not what it looked like. I think we're hitting that stride and we're seeing the growth we want to see. And so in 5 years, I would hope that we're significantly larger than we are. We have a larger team and we're really starting to become or have become a prominent American wine brand.
Love it. Right now, what percentage of business is retail and what percent is on premise, would you say?
Good question. I think we're about 50-50.
50-50.
It might even be a little more on premise, to be honest. When we started the company, like I launched the first wines in COVID really. And so we had to really adapt to that, and we're exclusive with Target for the first period of time there, which was amazing. We had a great relationship, and we work with Whole Foods and we work with HEB and some of these great retailers. We do so with Costco, but we've also got a really good on-premise strategy. With national on-premise, we work with a lot of hotel groups, Hilton, Marriott, the list goes on. And then just restaurants and bottle shops and all the above. So if I had to guess, I'd say we're just about 50-50, but it could be more like 55 on-premise, 45 off.
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny, there's two schools of thought on that, but I think the on-premise channel is really important.
They're both important. They're both important. Like chain retail, when you get big, becomes important for volume. But when you're growing, chain retail doesn't do that much because there's not, unless I take that back, there's like the HEBs of the world have amazing wine stewards that are teaching people about wine, but not to discount those chains. But on average, people are learning about wines in more intimate environments. The local bottle shop is incredibly important to our industry, right? Whether that's a local grocery store or just a wine shop, those places often have people that are educating consumers about wine. And then of course, restaurants, because that's where you go try a glass of wine or a bottle and someone, the somm maybe tells you about it, or you just taste it, you order it, you go find it at the store.
Yeah.
That whole like ecosystem is really important that it all works together. We've spent a lot of time like really refining that and making sure we feel comfortable with that balance.
Cool. I love it, man. All right. Last alcoholic beverage that you had. What was it?
Last alcoholic beverage?
I don't want to ask you about just wine because...
Yeah, I didn't drink this morning yet. So last night I was at that Mondavi thing. So the last alcoholic beverage I had, I think was a 1981 Mondavi out of like an 18-liter bottle.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Pictures or it didn't happen, man.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool.
I'll send you a picture. I think I have a picture.
18 liter? I don't know if I've ever actually...
I think they were 18s. They had like a line of them, like all these old vintages. They were pouring it out of this big contraption. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. That's pretty sick. All right. 18 liter. All right. I love that. Cool. Well, I think we're going to wrap here. This was awesome, man. Great conversation. Absolute
appreciate
pleasure
it, man.
to have you on. This was awesome. I'm coming out to Napa. We're going to hang out, drink some beers and grounded.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Where can people find Grounded in the tri-state area? Go on the website. What's the best way?
Honestly, like, yes, you can buy from groundedwineco.com, of course.
Yep.
But I really do like to encourage regional buying for two reasons. I want to support my distributor and my accounts, and I don't want you to have to pay customers. I don't want customers to have to pay all that shipping.
I love it.
And so, yes, you can buy from me if that's your only resort. If you live in Jersey, there's a lot of retail. Gary Fish does a great job with the Gary stores. My buddy Thomas McGarry over there at Byright and
Spring Lake.
That's a great order.
Yeah.
And the wines are around in Jersey. Cool. Same with New York. You can find them in New York. So just keep your eyes peeled for Grounded. I feel like there's a pretty good saturation of retail upstate, bottle shops in Manhattan, restaurant placement. And then Pennsylvania is really kind of like re-onboarding right now, but we should have some, I'm not sure if we're like in the state stores right now, but we should have some traction developing there, and keep your eyes peeled. And if you can't find it, you can totally order from us.
Perfect. Great. All right. This was awesome. Thank you so much, Josh.
Appreciate it, man.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it, guys.
Pleasure. All right.
See you later.